morning, guys. Chloe, let's start straight away with the Telegraph's front page and a fairly damning indictment of where Theresa May, who you would expect the Telegraph to support rather more than the opposition, a fairly damning indictment.
Yes, the Telegraph reporting that Theresa May has lost control. I personally think voters have lost control over anything that happens in this country anymore. Last night, MPs voted to give themselves the power to stop Brexit if May's deal isn't agreed upon. Now, we know that May is probably not going to win this vote on her agreements. What they're essentially saying is, if we don't vote for May's soft Brexit EU membership, then we won't have Brexit at all. And I just don't think that's acceptable at all. We've had 2 votes now on this. The majority of people very firmly telling the politicians we'd like to be out of this EU club, we don't want to be a member, and yet politicians just simply not listening at all.
The suggestion, though, when he spoke to the former Brexit Secretary Dominic Raab was that amendment put forward by Mr Grieve, actually, we voted on it, but it doesn't legally bind the government to following that. I mean, your view, Benjamin? I mean, politically, I would have thought it might.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's extraordinary. This Grieve amendment means that Parliament can take back control effectively. It can choose what happens going forward if you reject Theresa May's proposal next Tuesday. Now, for me, I think there's kind of a problem of vote leave zone making, because in the referendum, they said over and over again, we're not putting a manifesto forward, it's not a general election, it will be for Parliament to decide, it will be for the people to elect a government to put that forward. And now we see this, and Parliament tries to take back control, and it's almost
the voters.
Well, no, it's about Parliament being sovereign, because you went into that referendum saying take back control, and now we're taking back control to Parliament with these votes, and you're going, oh no, not that type of control.
So the issue is that May still doesn't really bring back the decision-making powers. It doesn't really bring back that sovereignty that politicians signed away without a referendum to the EU all those years ago. And so people did vote to take back control of those powers, and yet MPs saying, sorry, it's not possible to do that, we're going to ignore you once again.
I think it's fair to say that both of you expect the vote to be lost by Theresa May on Tuesday, which means another round of renegotiation, which makes your next pick, Benjamin, the iPage 9, that Article 50 can be revoked. Well, revoking maybe not what people want, but certainly a pause might be suggestible if you want to get a deal done.
So it's extraordinary, really. The European Court of Justice has said that Article 50 could be unilaterally revoked. So our Parliament could choose to revoke that, to end this process. And it's not entirely clear about what would happen, because this is an unprecedented situation. But basically, it looks like we could return to the deal that we had with the EU before this whole Brexit mess started. Now, given the number of leavers, let alone remainers, that have been saying that actually the deal we have with the EU is better than Theresa May's Brexit, then I think that's a really strong argument from both sides that are united on saying, actually, why don't we just stick with what we've had?
Chloe, just in terms of the Article 50 process, why is it such an unthinkable for so many of a Brexit persuasion to even countenance a pause to Article 50 to get the job done?
Well, you can understand why people have no trust in politics anymore, because one of the real drives of the Brexit vote was that people didn't think the political process was really working for them. Their MPs weren't listening to them, they didn't have any control over their lives, and they voted for change. And in response to this drive for change and their drive to be heard, MPs are saying we're not going to listen to your voices. So you can really see why people that support Brexit are so sceptical about pausing Article 50 of the process, because they're afraid that it's not going to happen at all. Because look at how at every single point in the process, politicians and technocrats have tried to stop Britain leaving the EU.
I mean, I have to say, I really think both sides should support extending Article 50 at the least, because, Brexiteers aren't happy with this, and I sympathise with it. Arguably, it isn't what your real Brexit is. Brexiteers aren't happy with this, and I sympathise with it. Arguably, it isn't what your real Brexit is, what your Brexiteer politicians voted for.
I mean, what on earth can you make of this little creep here? I mean, He's the kid who told Teach, isn't he? I mean, you wouldn't trust him, would you? I mean, look at him. And what he's actually trying to do is undermine the referendum, which more people voted in than at any other occasion in the UK. There has never been an occasion when such an enormous number of people came out to vote. Now, if that isn't democratic enough for people like this, I mean, what does he want? He wants another referendum. Well, what would another referendum prove? What if you had the same result, but a little bit the other way? I mean, it's stupid. You cannot. You have to go by, but you vote once and that's the end of it. Otherwise, what's happening is they're looking for a means of cheating the vote. That's what they want. Right? Now, in France, right now, you've got these gilets jaunes, and they're everywhere. I'm a gilet jaune now. You know, so they're everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. And believe me, it's going to England. It will go to England. There is absolutely no question. It will go to England. I've been slogging away at this business for 10 years now, and I have never ever witnessed as many people who are totally opposed to the government as you've now found. Whenever I talk to anybody, and I'll sit in the middle of a cafe, and if you say the word Jew loud, I mean, once upon a time, everybody would start looking around, oh, shh, 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 and all the rest. And you mustn't even mention the word Jew, because it's going to upset somebody, right? And particularly with the Arabs. I mean, they live in total fear of saying the word Jew, because they'll be accused of being anti-Semitic, right? Now, can anybody wonder, like in Paris now, the Jews are coming under attack, and they apparently don't understand why. I mean, this is absolutely unbelievable. They've just destroyed, at the minute, they're destroying Syria. They're bombing Syria at will, more or less. They're bombing Gaza. They're picking people off like fish in a barrel every day of the week. They could not care less. And yet, apparently, they don't understand why people don't like them. And in order to stop people talking about them, they're now passing new laws. I mean, they're actually passing laws to stop us talking about what Jews are doing. Because if you talk about Jews killing people in Gaza, then you're anti-Semitic. I mean, you just couldn't make this nonsense up. But it doesn't matter, because this guy and the news, all the news broadcasts, they're all intent on presenting the blackest future possible for England. And they're all at it, all of them. Now, for example, there'd be no problem with imports or exports. There'd be absolutely no problem. I mean, even now they have to search lorries. And even now, I mean, it's happening all the time, and you quite often get tailback of lorries, because they're not worrying about whether somebody's importing or exporting something that's not on the list. What they're trying to do is stop illegal immigrants and drug smuggling and all this nonsense. And on top of that, containers have to be checked now, because they're finding containers full of arms all over the place. Now, who has got an interest in bringing in arms into France and into the UK? And who has got an interest in that? It certainly isn't just your average Joe in the street. This is somebody with money and power whose intention is to fund a revolution of some sort. Now, there's already rumours flitting around in France that every mosque has got an arms cache, and when the civil war kicks off, the Arabs who have been brought in the middle of all this immigration rush will be the first to be armed, and people have got absolutely no idea how few people it actually takes to kick things off. And within 5 minutes they're saying, well, we'll have to bomb them out of there. And that's the way it works. And that's the way they destroyed all the Middle East. And they just couldn't care less about destroying Europe. They've just, in the past few decades, they've completely demolished Germany. Completely. They razed Germany to the ground, and since then they did the same thing in Bosnia and Serbia. I mean, they just went in. They had no reason to do that. It's not the job of NATO to go in and just destroy people. And they did it. And people in the West, they think, oh, they won't do it to us. They will. They don't care. They've got no interest in us. All these people like Theresa May, they believe that they're on the side that's going to be going underground and all the rest of it. When the bombs start flying, they'll be in a safe place, a long way away from trouble. They've got absolutely no idea that when this thing kicks off, that we'll all be at risk. The Jews know it as well. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, one thing you can be sure, every Jew in Jerusalem must be fully aware that if any sort of international war kicks off, Israel will have more bombs and missiles aimed at it than any other place on earth.